Join me this Tuesday on the sofa with Esther for a Valentine special with two very special guests. Will Wheaton will be talking about his latest single, Lady in My Life, and Mary Cross will be talking about her classic ballad, Meet Me on the Moon.
Meet me on the moon. Oh, please don't be late. You know how I hate to wait. 'Cause you're so great.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Well. I don't know how to introduce this lady, but this lady is the lady. Um, Mary Cross. She's known under lots of different names, all good, I must say, because of her style, because of her panache, because of her voice, just because of who she is and the energy that she exudes. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to On the Sofa with Esther for my Valentine special is Mary Cross. Mary Cross. Welcome, Mary.
Hi. My plug came out of the laptop and I wanted to make sure we didn't lose power.
That's okay. That's happened. I mean, between the both of us trying to get it to work. Can you imagine?
Absolutely. Oh my gracious. It's so good to see you, Esther.
And you as well. And I've been tracking you. And when I saw that you've got this new single out, I'm like, I don't care. We're gonna make this work. And we are balancing a lot. But there's something where I felt, and it wasn't even for Valentine's before I realized it was Valentine's because time is going so quickly.
Yeah.
But then I thought this needs to be a Valentine special. But for me, it's more than that. It's something that people could really carry in their hearts, no matter what time of year it is. So welcome, Mary.
Thank you so much for having me and welcome. I would like to say hello to everybody, all of your listeners and viewers. It's so awesome to be here with you today.
Yes. So Mary, you have been up to a lot. You're always moving forward. You're always championing a new look, a new sound, a bigger sound, a greater sound, off the backs of Phyllis Hyman. And your other favorite was Nancy
Wilson. Yeah.
Nancy Wilson. But you've evolved into, I would say, this eclectic individual in your own right. In your own right. And it's a very powerful place, Mary. So congratulations on your latest single.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's been exciting, I must say. So when 2 years ago was the last single that I had released, and it was Promise, which was I had written and Donald Robinson had produced. So over the last 2 years, I really wanted to empower myself even more as an artist. So rather than have someone else do things for me, they say if you give a person a fish, they eat for a day. But if you teach them how to fish, they eat for a lifetime. So I had a lot of questions about how you do this thing with music. And I wanted to know soup to nuts, like what is the process of making a song or doing a song? And one of the things, I have a couple of different projects I'm actually working on, and the album is almost done. But with this particular first debut album project, I wanted to get my feet wet, and I also wanted to do something that was paying homage to great artists that I love and great classic soul music, because that's really my whole genre. My whole idea of everything we do is that we're actually giving back and actually introducing people to great music that has been around for a long time, that does serve as a time machine, that does connect with us, it does tell stories. And so I said, what better way than to do like some Sarah Vaughan, which is coming up on the album that's going to be coming out. Some Nancy Wilson, a little bit of that as well. And with Phyllis, when I was a kid and I had such a tumultuous childhood, she was like really my first hero. Like I saw the Jet magazine, I saw her on Soul Train, and you find somebody that you can relate to, like, oh my God, this woman is statuesque, she's beautiful, and she has this big, larger than life voice and she's so iconic because she was doing jingles for various commercials. She was known for, the attire, the clothes that she wore, the gowns, the hats, the whole thing. So I just fell in love with that. And I knew nothing about fashion when I was a kid, of course, and I wasn't raised in that kind of an environment. But to me, I just, I felt this connection. I just loved her, and I never got to see her live, and I never got to meet her. But I really felt like, wow, my whole life, you know, and getting me through such tough times was because I had this idea of her being my imaginary friend. So I think that it's interesting how things happen in your life. I mean, you know, when people say, you know, you sound like, because initially it was like people say I sound like Captain and Tennille because I used to mimic Love Will Keep Us Together. And people would say, oh my God, you can sing. And I say, I don't think I can sing. I just do that. And then as time went on and you know, connecting with Phyllis and people saying, you know, you sound like Phyllis, but that's only after, you know, I sang a couple of things. And even in church, people would say, you sound like Phyllis Hyman singing a gospel song. So it was really interesting how it came like full circle for me. So as we fast forward to where we are now, of course, when I released the other songs, I didn't want to be compared to Phyllis. My whole thing was, okay, so it was important for me to cover my face kind of in the first single because I knew people were going to say, who's that? Is that Phyllis? Is that Phyllis? You know, I just didn't want all that. So I thought if I cover my face, they don't have many questions to ask. You know, you just hear the music and hopefully respect the art form, you know, whatever my interpretation is, because I can't change my voice box. It is what it is. So with that, that was the first time. And then, of course, as time went on and I started doing other things, I embraced finally the idea that you do have tonalities that are similar to hers. And when I go places and I would sing tributes to Phyllis Hyman, which I just started doing last summer, which is crazy because most people are like, don't you always do her songs? It's like, no, usually at a show, people in the past had asked me, would I sing a Phyllis song or a song by Mesa? Because they could hear the tonality sounding so husky or contralto like. And I'd say, sure. But just to do a tribute to her and being right across the bridge in Philadelphia was like something I really don't mess around with, you know. So when I decided to do it, I did a Nicetown festival. And after the show was over, people were coming up to me and saying things like one guy said he was her bodyguard when she was alive. Another guy said he worked at the rehab place that she was at. Like, wow. They told me stories and I didn't understand it, you know, but to whom much is given, much is required. So I figured out, and it didn't take me very long, but at first I was annoyed, to be honest. I was like, why are you telling me this stuff? But it's because I think many people didn't get closure and they knew Phyllis. Phyllis died when she was 45 years old.
45, yes.
Yeah, and just the idea of it being 32 years since she had even recorded Meet Me on the Moon to where we are today, it is just amazing how many people still have those raw feelings of what happened and when it happened and how abrupt it was that she was taken from us. So with that, and a lot of people tended to always have a stigma when it came to talking about Phyllis Hyman, like, oh my God, she killed herself, you know, like they look at it from the negative side, but that wasn't the end because Phyllis left us with great music, a catalog of wonderful compilations. And I can't say enough about them. I think the most songs we've done thus far in a 2-hour tribute has been 39 songs. We could do more, but the thing is we've done them, many as medleys, and then there are some that are so beloved with people that they'll say, can you, you know, do more of the song, or they'll sing along. It's amazing. Last weekend even, they were just amazing. So people love Phyllis Hyman and they love the music that she left us with. And I'm just honored to be able to do this. So when it came to Meet Me on the Moon, I thought, well, it is the most requested song I do. That one, and You Know How to Love Me. And so I'm thinking, why not? So it was like a no-brainer. And I'm so honored that even more so it makes it sweeter because my band, who's been with me for 9 years, I had them as the musicians on the recording. I didn't use the professionals and all the others. I wanted to give these people who've been with me for 9 years for live performances the opportunity to actually do something with me. You know, it's one thing to have people come up and say, oh, is that your band playing on Promise or this song or that? And you're like, no, it's not my band. And so some would wonder, well, if you have a band, why didn't you record some things with them? And for whatever the reason, it's just that this is the time that we're actually able to do it. So it actually worked out beautifully. And they've done such a great job. And I was nervous, I must say. Initially,
why were you nervous?
Well, I was nervous because I was like, oh my gosh, it's such big shoes to fill, and people are going to compare me to her. And
but you've been doing that all along. Oh, I don't think maybe you don't realize that you've been doing that all along. But you know, it's not just covering Phyllis though, because you are coming out and have come through her. And as you're talking, because I think why maybe for a lot of people there wasn't closure around Phyllis because she committed suicide, but she was bipolar and suffered from depression.
Right.
And a lot of what she sang came from that place.
Yes, in that place.
And so
yes.
maybe just presenting, maybe the link between you and Phyllis spiritually, energetically, is because you've come from those really raw places.
That sounds like it could so be true. Very much so.
And
very
so
much so.
You've captured her energy, her spirit, but you're keeping things alive because in a way I feel you're bringing closure. I mean, there's so many other people that can do tributes, renditions of her, but it runs very powerfully through you. And you capture it. So, I mean, on the train here, because like I said, I was out with my grandson. Oh, go get home. But while he was sleeping, I was listening to Promise and I was listening to your latest track. And it just did this to me. You know, it was calming, it was therapeutic, but it was very deep and rich as well.
Oh, I thank you so much.
Just when you hit certain notes as well, it's almost as if you're sitting in an auditorium watching someone live and there's silence in that theater.
Wow.
That's the place you take people. So I feel that's the gift that's running through you and you're honoring in it. Mary, you're honoring it and you do it splendidly, as we say in Britain, splendidly.
I love that. I love the word splendid too. So doing it splendidly is a blessing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So that's really
we can live way up high on cloud nine. I will never ever go down. I promise that I love you, always thinking of you. Whatever it is we need, plant the seed for this journey of life. And with our promise, love will stay through the tears, heartache, and pain. And the storms, dark clouds become sun rays.
So that's really great. And I did struggle with that after, like when I knew it was going to be released and I knew the date was coming. That's the thing I was challenged by. And I really appreciate your saying what you did, because it really does. I never looked at it from that perspective, but that does make a lot of sense, and not even knowing when I was a kid what she was actually dealing with, but knowing her history now with Clive Davis and what didn't work. And then he found Whitney Houston and they cast you to the wayside. And then you're struggling with all these things and trying to find your identity. And you thought you knew who you were, but now you really don't, because you don't feel like you're worth anything to people anymore. And, it's so many struggles. Then you got the weight issue and the cigarette smoking and all this other stuff. So it is definitely a domino effect. I am really excited, though, to just be able to let people know that her music is never going anywhere and it is timeless. And that's what my whole being and everything about what we do and why I put the band together 9 years ago was really to inspire you. The whole thing is really just, I didn't even know any of this. All I knew is that was the name that came to mind. And it really was like the mission statement and the goal. So in everything that I do, it's always to inspire you. If you get something out of it, that's pleasing. And it's more than just, I'm not there to be wound up like a doll and just sing something because you say, okay, just sing something. That's not how it works. Everything is led by emotion and what you're feeling and what the lyrics mean and how it, how it relates to you and what you want to present to people. Because again, as I always say, people come from all over to attend my performances and like they would any other. And you really want to show your appreciation for that. So I make it my business to let them know that I appreciate them. And also that we put a lot of time and energy into our shows. We rehearse every week. Every week for years, and we don't play. We make sure that you get a great experience when you're with us, and we don't want it to be anything but that. It's more than money. It's more than the other stuff. It's just trying to get people to see that there is such a thing. Classic soul has never died, and that artists like Nancy Wilson and Phyllis Hyman and Sarah Vaughan, they live on in their music. Even with Samara Joy winning the Grammys that she won, you know, as a young voice that is able to captivate and give her own interpretation. And for newbies, the kids that are coming up in her age range, to say, oh, this is something I didn't know existed, or I'm rediscovering it or seeing it from her perspective. It's a wonderful thing. But we don't want to eclipse the importance of the artists who've been doing it for years, because, you know, that's another thing that's a struggle for jazz artists or people who've been doing, you know, the music all these years and no one's paying attention. And now all of a sudden you got a newbie that comes along and then they're like, wait a minute.
They go right to the top. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yes. So that's so important for us to remember. But you have to also understand, and I say this to kids that I mentor all the time, you got to understand your role. You got to understand everybody doesn't make it to a Beyonce status. You got to understand that where you are, you have to be doing it for the right reasons, and your passion must be right. Your mindset has to be in the right place, and you can't get discouraged when things happen or don't happen along a timeline. You know, if I could probably have a lot of money if I count up all the times that people have promised things to me or said they were going to help me with something. And let me tell you something, that stuff, I mean, and you have to get beyond that and understand it ain't even about that. If it works, fine. If it don't, I'm still moving on.
You're still moving forward, and that's the key. You know, I had this conversation this week, and like you, I've had so many promises, and I think maybe what's irritated a lot of people is that when I'm on the other side, they, oh, you arrived, you showed up. Yeah, well, I'm, you know, your no or your non-response just egged me on. It depends, but like you said, for young people, you might not reach it, but you do it because you love it.
Yes.
Keep going. And also when you're serving others, you're doing to serve others, to reach out, then you will get something from it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the main thing is that you just keep going with the vision, and you know, having people like you around, like you said, you mentor, and I do a lot of mentoring, people like us that we can just keep saying, rise with us.
Right.
Rise
exactly.
With us. And I can learn from you, you can learn from me, because you know, none of us have arrived.
No, we haven't.
Had hope.
Oh my gosh. Talk about it.
But it's, you know, I can learn from you, you can learn from me, and we just support each other. And I think also for a lot of people, because people like us, it may look seamless to the outside that we're doing, but you know, it's so incredibly challenging behind the scenes. And for me, it's my faith that drives me forward. Sometimes I'm so tired, sometimes I don't have, but it's my vision, my dream, and my purpose that keeps me going. And when you're on purpose and in purpose, and whether you say God or universe, you know, people have different beliefs, but when you keep going, you just know that you're being held up, because you know that that's where you're supposed to be going.
Exactly. That's right. That is so true. It is. And I think it's so important for us to keep that at the forefront of our mind. You know, unfortunately, a lot of people don't have someone to keep them grounded. And I think that sometimes you can appreciate everything, like even if you got married over 30, or if you decided to do certain things, sometimes the seasoning of your life experiences helps you a little bit further down the road than if you were to do everything when you're wet behind the ears and have no idea and are just moving, but not in purpose or deliberately, but more so because that's what everybody else is doing. And so I appreciate the place that I'm in now. And, you know, having raised my kids and, you know, the empty nester kind of phase that we're going through, and just being able to enjoy this as I would have enjoyed it. You know, I could only enjoy it this way because I've done all the other stuff, and that's out of the way as priorities go. And now I can focus on this in such a way that I have the support of my husband and my kids. And, you know, it's just a wonderful place to be in. But if you're worrying about daycare and all this other stuff, those distractions, sometimes it's just not right. And that's why it's important for us to know timing is everything. It really is. My God.
I got told about patience a couple of months ago. I'm like, look, it's been 20 years.
20 years.
You know, there'll be a nun by now.
Talk about it. Oh my God.
I've done my enough, you know. Let's speed things up a little, please.
Right. Just a tad, just a little. Oh my God. But that's the importance of what we do. I think I wouldn't want to do it in any other time than the place I'm doing it in. And the Bible says that he will not allow the locusts to devour your crops. What is for you is for you. And I always emphasize that with folks that, the space that you occupy, no one else can do that. No one else can be who you are.
Yes. Yes. I mean, all that we're talking about now, I've had this in conversations with so many different people, why begrudge somebody for their path? Because that's their blessings. Yours are right in front of you.
Exactly.
And yours are in front of you. And there's greatness in each and every one of us.
That's right. That's
we don't
right.
see it. For whatever reason, we don't see it. But don't be somebody else, because if the doors are opening for them, it's their time and their season.
Their time. Exactly. And I think that is one of the things that makes it hard, especially when you're younger, because you can get distracted by the jealousy thing or the green with envy kind of thing. And, the one thing I learned a long time ago, I remember one of my church mothers, we were at a retreat, and there was a young lady there, and all she kept talking about was how wonderful life was and wonderful marriage was. And she just got married. And because the women around the table were all elders, and they were expressing how in marriage there are struggles and challenges you go through. And this particular church mom, she said, "Are you done?" And the young lady said, "Yes, I don't have any of those problems you guys have. We love each other." And she said, "All I have to say to you is live a little. That's all. Just live a little. You'll see." And that young lady, as time has passed, because that was like 20 years ago, now it's like, oh, I get it now. But see,
yes,
they all think that is a lily field that you're running through and everything is wonderful. That's not the reality of the life we live. It's really not. You have to figure out how you're going to deal in good times and bad times and find a balance so that no matter what happens.
The tools. Exactly. I always say, I work with my Mary Poppins tools, and a lot of time for me it's prayer, meditation, and exercise and music. Prayer, meditation, exercise, and music.
Yeah.
I lift weights if I want to breathe. I run. If I had a budgie, I would walk the budgie. I walk my dog. It gets to that times, sometimes, and especially when I get into my headspace, sometimes I have to really meditate and pray through it, because you're going to go first, blood first, best. But but because then after a while though, things become easier, because you recognize where you're at, you recognize maybe the triggers or what's coming in, and then you can reach into your Mary Poppins toolkit and say, okay, today I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to breathe, or I might just go and get a bath.
Yes, exactly. And I think that that's the importance of it, and our role in understanding how we can be beneficial to someone else getting this, because I've never, there's the tortoise and the hare, remember? And the hare runs very quickly, and he thinks he's going to get to the finish line. He's got time to sit down, take a nap. The tortoise is moving very slow, but the hare has this confidence because he's in his own strength. But in the end, he overslept and the tortoise won anyway. So I think that we have to know the race is not given to the swift or the strong, but he who endures to the end. So there's a lot of people who've fallen off, businesses have failed, things have gone awry because they didn't choose to have the wherewithal to hang in there. It is one of the toughest things in the world to keep going. It is so much easier to quit. It is, but that's not what anybody should be doing. They should try to persevere. And it is tough. But what it is you don't have to sit in that space and wallow in it. You just say, I'm going to figure out a new plan. Because your plan ain't working, cuz. You got to find a new plan.
And also people like you, and also find someone that inspires you. And sometimes, the circle that you're keeping, they're keeping you where you're keeping. But also you can understand that sometimes people are afraid to step out of that space, because if they step out of that space, then there's this sense of aloneness, and then there's this sense of, well, who am I? And so, watching interviews, that's why I love what I do, because when I interview the artists, it's not just about the artists and the music, but there's always lots of nuggets of gold in there that can support someone on their journey, that can support someone, even if it means listening to a piece of your music or Phyllis Hyman's music, and you listen to it, and there's something in that music that speaks to your soul. It's almost like reach out or go onto YouTube. There's so many, whether there's Oprah, Dr. Maya Angelou, there's so many things that you can watch, and you'll see yourself in there.
Yes. Yes. And you know, it's interesting you say that, because I remember a lot of times I'm into audio books when I have time. Sometimes I don't have time to pick up a book, so I'll let it play if I'm doing something else, a project and all. And one that she has is What I Know for Sure. It's a wonderful audio book, and it really has so many great nuggets of information. I also watched her interview with Viola Davis, and that was amazing, talking about finding me, and that was amazing. So it's just like those, yeah, absolutely. Maya Angelou, I've always adored. I loved her, Dr. Maya Angelou. So there are a lot of great people that have a wealth of knowledge, and you find out their story and you say, oh my God, because one thing I learned, everybody has a story. And then you see looking for a pity party or anybody to make you feel better about yourself, because everybody has a story. It's not about having the story, it's what you do with it. As you said, having those tools from your Mary Poppins bag and being able to say, in spite of that, this is where I am, or this is what I've done. You cannot wait around for someone to give you anything or show you anything. They won't show you. It's no offense, nothing wrong with that. You move on. You move on and you go to the next thing. You figure out how you're going to have to make it work, because everybody can't go by that same cookie cutter way and say, this is what works and this is what you should do.
Absolutely, yes.
That's ridiculous.
Yes. And like you said, Viola Davis, I watched that interview. I'm like,
oh my God, amazing. Yeah.
And look at her.
Ooh,
I mean, even Oprah said, I thought I had it bad.
Yeah. How about that? Yes. That was, man, I tell you, amazing. I have a newfound respect for that. That level of Poe was.
Yes, absolutely.
I was like, yo, I will not be complaining anymore about anything. Thank you very much. But it just goes to show, and that, you know, when you see the colors of our lives and where we come from and what we've done and what we've been able to accomplish in spite of, you know, I was also watching the Malcolm X story the other day, and that it's so amazing, because you think about, like, there's something that I love, and it's black and white movies. I love to watch those, and yet there aren't a lot of, you know, it's a lot of racism that was going on during that time, so it's not a lot of us in them unless it's in bad roles. And yet the time was simplistic and about gowns and glamour. So that part of it is the part I take from it. And I do love the storylines. It's always about romance and all the fake stuff that really is not the reality. But I do love that. And it's unfortunate, because when you think of all the struggles that Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and so many others had to go through to get us to the other side, we have so much to be grateful for. And it just goes to show our endurance. And it's so amazing. So we talk about having a story. It ain't about having a story. It's what you're going to do with the information. Now that you have a story, you're going to make what you're going to build out of that, because that's all you were given. That was your measure.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with that, with your life? How are you going to do it? Instead of don't come to me with the problem unless you got a solution. Plan.
Yes, and that's my motto. And even as you're talking, I mean, you know, Phyllis Hyman was your Shiro, and that's Wilson. And if, like you said, if you look back at a lot of their lives, Ella Fitzgerald, I watched her documentary a couple of years ago. I was like, what? But it's Nina Simone.
Yes,
but it's what, you know, what I know. It's what's because of they became.
Yes, exactly. And that goes right back to what you were saying about the pain of all that Phyllis Hyman endured and lived through is what came out. And my husband and I were talking about that last night too. Like, when you hear somebody sing, the reason why soul music is soul music is because of our lives, what we went through. The fabric of this thing is based upon what I live. You are what you live. So when you're talking about Donny Hathaway and so many others, that classic soul had something. These youngins might come up and they might sing a rendition, and you might say they can sing, but it ain't nothing like what you feel. Because I'm telling you, that Maya Angelou quote is my life. It says, people forget what you say, forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. That is life. That's the reality of what we live and why. That is my why. If you get something out of it, it doesn't matter. You don't have to know the whole story. But if you feel that thing that's down in my gut that I'm impregnated with, that I can't lose it. It can't go anywhere. It's never going to leave me. When my soul leaves my body, it goes away. But it'll still remain through the recordings and things that I leave behind. And I'm hoping that if they get that, then you get me. You may not understand the whole story. You don't have to.
You don't
But
have
that part of all of us as artists and what we do, and even what you do, it is such a gift. It is such a gift. People don't understand that passion that you have. People don't really care. A lot of times people don't even give that same level of excellence that you give for what you do. It's not the same everywhere.
It's an honoring, though. For me, it's about an honoring. There's something deep inside of me, Mary, about honoring. Let's honor this. And if I'm going to do it, let's do it properly. And let's present it well. And let's have that meaty, authentic dialogue, because out there's lots of fakery. Everything's superficial, and but also people are tired of it. People want something that's authentic. People want something that's grounded. People want something where they can just be. I just want to be, from all the fluff and all the stuff. Just want to be.
Exactly.
And to those old values, and I believe if we bring back those values, it would just help us to heal. It would help us to grow. It would help us to evolve. It would help us to munch through life a little differently.
I agree with you 100%. And I think that that's one of the things as an artist or one who loves music, because I think nobody's really defined by what they do. It's how you live, and so for me, with whatever we do, and I'm just so grateful that I have a group of people that I love and adore, who support me, and they've embraced and adopted the vision. They go with me on this road. Now, we had to, I say, quote unquote, kiss a lot of frogs to get to where we at with the people who become your core, but you have to do that. And sometimes you have to make those tough decisions. You have to separate, as you mentioned earlier, you separate the chaff from the wheat. You got to do it. If you don't,
it's not chaos. And it's not a judgment, but it's for me also, it's like God or the universe saying, I'm taking you here. Are you going to really listen? Because there's going to be things, there's going to be places where you step into where you don't even know where you're going, but you have to trust. There's going to be people and things that you have to let go of as you evolve and grow. It's not a judgment.
It's right. It's exactly right.
Also, there's lots of wolves in sheep's clothing, so there's not. But let's just call a spade and keep moving. And as we evolve, then hopefully they will evolve. But that's their journey. We just got to be obedient to the path that's been set before us. This is my purpose. And like you said, after a while, you will know it's your purpose because you're feeling it in your soul. And it doesn't matter if you're walking on shards of glass to get there. If it's your purpose, as you come through, there's a rainbow. There's always a rainbow along the way. You might have to go over deep hills and valleys.
Woo! But boy, go again. I love it. It's so true. Great analogy. Oh my God. And the other thing is that's so interesting. No matter what has ever happened during the course of this band thing, if something doesn't work out, like say for instance, you wanted to use a musician for whatever, or you auditioned somebody and they didn't work out, I always look at it like it was a reason for that. And so what it teaches you, and this has been such a gift to me, what it teaches you is what you're made of in regard to how you respond to that. Like, some people feel defeated, or they get, this weird paranoia, or struggling and thinking they got to make something happen. I don't rush to do anything. I think about how I'm going to move forward and what I need to do next. But I'm not going to allow anybody have me beholden to them, or a situation that I thought was going to go a certain way, or what I thought I needed, because it was a reason why it was only a season or didn't work at all. And we have to accept that. And I think when it shows you what you're made of and you see the things you've been through, and another thing I learned is there are always people watching. You don't have anything to do with it, but they watching, whether they want to see you fail, whether they haters, whether they're applauding you, whether they're supporting you, whatever, they watching. So the lessons are in there for you and for them. And your intention is never to focus on them. It's how am I going to deal with what I have before me? And I think about the responsibility I have to my musicians, to my sound engineers, like the people that I work with who are part of this, who have adopted this vision. They matter to me, just like my audience does. All of this, everything is a component, and it's like a domino effect. I never think about this one.
Yes, because it makes a whole. They all make a whole. And even as you're talking about the band, because I feel you are accountable to them and they're accountable to you as well. And that's why it can go so well. And it's not to say that you don't have might have your disagreement, your grievances.
Sure.
But like you said, it's how you can, because you've got that alignment, you can come together to discuss, to deal, to resolve in a different way.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful. And it really works. And I think that that's the other thing you learn as you go. You really learn how to manage people and how to be a better person, because you grow from that. You're either going to, it's only going to, if you're thrown in the water, one or two things is going to happen if you can't swim. You either are going to sink or you're going to swim. You're going to figure out how to dog pedal, whatever. But the bottom line is, though, it's all about what you're made of and what you're going to do. You can't be defined by circumstances. You have to decide that I'm going to make this work. And understanding that the assignment's bigger than you always helps you. It's not about anything else except saying, okay, I got to get this done. I've got to do this. This is the way we're going to do it. And this is it. And always accept feedback so that people can help you. Because you can't do it alone. You cannot. You can't.
This has been wonderful. I mean, there's so much that we can talk about, even for International Women's Month. I'd like to grab you if I can, but I'd like to interview in person. So I am, looking to come to the States, and it would be nice to just have you on my sofa in a studio as we nibble and we just talk and we encourage and we inspire and we share. And then, even within ourselves from this conversation, I can take away and think, okay, can I do? Who can I become? How can I evolve? And that's the opening. But I would like to say a big congratulations to your latest single. Remind me what the name of the single is again as well.
Because Meet Me on the Moon.
Meet Me on the Moon.
Yes, done 32 years ago by Phyllis Hyman. And the musicians, if you don't mind my mentioning who they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Dane Clark is my musical director and also my big brother. We have Dale Cottrell, who is the pianist. We have Carrie Muse, who is on percussion. We have Curry Little and Clarence Johns, who both take turns alternating as my drummer. And we have Joe Fisher, who is on bass. We have Abby Love Graham, who is one of the vocalists, and Martina Grant, who is also on vocals. And then my sound team that travels with us is Ed House, my brother, and also Chad Graham. So it's a great team of people, and they give me a great sound. And I'm just so honored to have them with me. And I thank you so much, Esther, for your time. I thank your audience for watching and listening. It's been a blessing and a prayer.
It's always a pleasure talking to you. I just love the vibe that we have, and wishing everyone a wonderful Valentine's Day. I'm going to play that track, but I'm going to sort of intersperse this interview with some of your other tracks as well, because it's all magic. You've just created this magic.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Love you, Esther.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye.
It may be heavenly, it may be bliss. You can shoot for the stars and still miss. But there's something in the air. 'Cause we both know, we both know, we both know. In love, there's a reason. I know you've been hurt before, and I have too. But there's something about the way this feels
mother to one of the richest and wealthiest celebrities around the world. One of the services that I provide is a personal shopping experience here in London. And some of the things that we do, apart from shopping, is that I take you to places like this, which is called Japan House, where you can learn all about Japanese culture, and we're going to have an afternoon tea Japanese experience.
Know you wanna go, you told me so. Meet me on the go and meet me on the moon, child. I want you to meet me on the